Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So you guys are familiar with the basics of opening up Premiere, etc., kind of working with it a little bit. Let's go ahead and get you a little more familiar with some basic editing. Like I mentioned before, I have a few clips in here, and I need to import a few more in, I think, it looks like. So let me just go ahead and quickly import some clips in. I don't want that.
When you want to open a clip in your source,
Uh-huh.
I've always been right-clicking and it takes too long. Is there a quick...
Right-clicking? Yeah, there is a quick way to get it in there. Give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Where is it? Freezing Rain voiceover. That's what I'm looking for. Do you guys see it? There it is. That's what I was just actually going to talk about. Previewing and marking in and outs in the panels. So the quick way, so you've just been right-clicking and loading it into the source. So you right-click and then come down here and you load it. Where does it say that?
Keep going down.
Open in source?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terribly inefficient way to do that. So we'll just undo that. And if you do want to, there's a few things that you can do. You can actually scrub through here and look at it, but if you want to open in the source, if you just double click the clip, it'll automatically open in the source.
See, I'm going to have to try that again, because I've tried that on mine, and it doesn't, for some reason, I don't
Also drag it up.
Or you can just drag it up there.
Oh,
You can just go like this,
okay.
and that works pretty
I
quickly
don't
too.
even think mine scrubs when you hover over it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
That's interesting.
I'll try it again.
You should see a few bits of scrubbing in each of those, yeah.
Are you going to import another clip yourself?
Yeah, I thought I did.
I forget how to do it.
It looked like you just did a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, Command I or File Import, and I want to import these. There they are.
Or you can even write.
Oh, I undid it. That's what I did, yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
I did an undo. Or you can right click in here and you can just press import, and that'll bring clips in. So to preview a clip in the source, you just, like I say, you can right click it in there and you can drag this along here. You have a few different, in the source you have a few different ways to watch a clip. If you press the J, K, or L buttons or the spacebar will play it. L can play it really fast or really slow, or you can do K and L, and that'll actually go 1 frame at a time, or you can use your keyboard arrows and you can move it around like there so you can get really precise, or you can just scrub, and J goes backwards, K stops it, and L goes forward. And the more you press L, the faster it'll go.
We do the same with J.
Yep.
Slower or
Yep.
faster, go backwards.
And K will stop it. Or spacebar will stop it. And like I say, if you just want to go a frame at a time, you can press K and L or K and J to go back. Does that make sense? To mark an in and an out on the frame, let's say you want to use that much of the clip, you just press I and O. Or to clear the out, or you can mark an in by pressing right clicking or anything like that. If you want to clear that in and out, you just press clear in and out there. Basically though, to do some basic editing, however, you just, let me go ahead and that's a lot of audio there. You just basically, the first thing that you can do is once you get your clip, let's say I want to use this much of the clip here, probably want some motion in this clip somewhere, a truck driving through. So I'll probably go right before he gets in, and I'll let that play, and I'll let that truck move out of frame, and I'll press an out there, and you can drag that clip down, and we're going to go ahead and change the sequence settings. That's the nice thing about Adobe Premiere, is that whatever media you're using, it'll usually tell you on a timeline that you haven't used before that you needed to either change it or keep the existing. I like to use the media that I have the most of, and that way it'll be easier to export and render out. And so I usually just change the sequence settings, and then I know exactly what I've got
And
there.
so when you do that, what does it change it to?
It changes it to the codec that it was shot in.
Oh, okay.
And so I have two different codecs here. I have one from my DSLR and I have one from JVC ENG style camera.
So when you change the sequence settings, and for each one of those, like say half your clips are in the one and half are in the other, is it just going to keep those?
It'll keep the sequence settings for the media that you put in there for the first time. And so whatever else you drag in, it'll have to render that out before you export it, which is fine as long as it's in a similar format. It should be fine. Adobe Premiere is pretty flexible when it comes to things like that. There's also another way. See how I drag that clip right into the timeline. I'll just undo that real quick and I'll just do that again. So you can just drag it right down and on. You'll notice that when you do it that way, you can place it pretty much wherever you want. If you're going to do it different ways, let's go ahead and load this up in there. You can drag into the program monitor, and I'll show you. Let's go ahead and mark an in and out on this clip as well. So we've got some people walking through there. We'll come in right about there, and we'll get her as she's walking out. And we can drag it over to the program monitor. And you notice it says dropped overwrite, and we'll just go ahead and do that, and it'll drop wherever your playhead is. So as you can see there, it drops right on the playhead, and then the playhead moves down and you're ready for your next edit. There's also a keyboard shortcut, which is probably the most efficient way that you can edit, and which was what I highly recommend. So we'll find some more footage here. We'll put in this clip here. We'll find a nice in and out for this as well. So it looks like he drives out of the frame here. So we'll mark our out first. And then we'll give it a little bit of, we can play that. You can always know how long your ins and outs are. You have this clip here. This is a 10-second clip. Actually, it's longer than a 10-second clip. I don't know what, let me just, okay, it'll tell you if you clear the ins and outs here. I'll show you something here real quick. I'll just clear that. And it says this is a 16-second clip total, but the minute you mark an in or an out on that, it changes that from, now it's at 14, and now our clip is at 3 seconds, which is fine, which is a good amount of time there. And if you just want to bring that down to the timeline, if you press the period button, that's the shortcut for a overwrite edit, or just to drop it down on the timeline wherever your playhead is.
That'll do both audio and video?
Yep.
Is there one for just audio?
There is. If you just want to bring audio down, you can grab, see this little, you can drag audio only or drag video only.
I meant like a key.
I don't know if there is. I don't think there is. So you just have to, if you wanted, you can drag them both down, and then you can just select the clip. You can unlink it, and then you can delete your audio. But that's a different lecture for a different day.
Okay.
So, but I'll just show you here real quick. You can unlink right there, and that you'll notice that the audio is unlinked from the video, and so you can undo that. So now they're connected again. So that's the basic way to drag clips down to the timeline. The next thing we'll talk about is marketing and targeting destinations in the timeline. So if you recall, we can, like I say, if you move that playhead around, you can, I'm going to go ahead and shrink this timeline. And the easiest way, the quick way to do that is just plus or minus. And so it gets smaller, and if you go big with it, you can really kind of tinker around with what you want to do. Or you can drag the ends of those and get those precisely where you want that. So I have those 3 clips. Also, if you press the / key up below the delete key, it'll fit that timeline perfectly to what you need there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and minus that out. So wherever this playhead is, that's where a clip will go if I press the period key again here. So you notice where the playhead was, and now I have a large gap there. if I bring this playhead over, if I'm dragging this playhead, you'll notice that if I wanted to put that clip at the very end of this one, it's not very accurate with it. If I press shift quickly though, it'll temporarily turn on snapping, so I can go right to the end of that, and then I can press period again, and it'll bring an instance of that clip down there right again. But I'll just undo that here for you. If you want, you can mark an in on the timeline. So if I put an in here, and I drag this, if I press period and I move this playhead off to the side, and I press period, it's going to put it right where that in was marked. So that can be useful as well. So there's a lot of ways to bring clips and target and do some things like that. Any questions on marking in on the timeline or using your playhead to bring a clip down and in?
What was the backslash thing for?
The backslash, it's for the zoom. Let's say I want to say, I have all those clips, they're there, but I want to see all the clips in the timeline. If I press the backslash, it'll fit them into the timeline, all of them. So, or you can plus or minus to where you want it, but sometimes the plus or minus isn't as accurate as you want. It always pluses and minuses on your timeline. So the backslash just fits everything in there real quick.
When you hit the period to like just bring the clip down, does it go to where the playhead is?
It depends.
Very next.
It depends. It will always usually go where the playhead is, unless you put an in on the timeline. So let's do this period again. So if I press a period here, it'll bring it right where that timeline is. See how it just keeps on popping it in where the timeline is? Now if I mark an in over here on the timeline, and I move this playhead over here, and I press the period here again, it's going to bring it where you mark your in. And then you notice that it immediately clears the in on the timeline.
How are you marking the in on the timeline when you press it?
So make sure you select the timeline, make sure it's selected, and just press I. And you see how it brings up that. And then just press period there. Any questions on that? Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here. I'm just deleting those because those are duplicates. I'll make a few more clips here. I'll mark an in on that. That one's marking out there. Drag this down and on. The next thing we'll talk about is just moving clips on the timeline, and I'm going to go ahead and make that just a bit. Actually, I'm going to zoom out just a bit so you can kind of see what to do here. Excuse me. And remember that it'll zoom in where your playhead is, so I'm just going to go ahead and minus that out. But to move a clip around the timeline is pretty easy. You just basically drag it and move it to wherever you want it to go. And you'll notice that we get you'll notice that a clip, when it comes to an edge of another clip, it's pretty much like a wall there, and it won't go through that clip unless you move it all the way through. So it's nice because it'll stop right on the edge, and then you don't have to worry about there being any black flashes of black or anything along those lines there, and it cuts right to that. And so you can move these around pretty easily, and we have a little sequence now of some winter activities here. There's also another cool, a pretty cool tool that you can use. It's called the swap edit. Let's say I want to move this guy. I want this end clip at the very beginning, and I want to just change places with it. So I can drag this, and I can move it right there, but you'll see that if I did that, it would completely just overwrite that clip. And so we need to use a few modifier keys. And the easiest thing to do there is bring that there, and then if you press Option Command, you'll notice that my little icon there, right there, it says it's just going to drop the clip there, but if I press Option Command, there's a little return key there. So it'll move the clip and put it there, then push everything else down. And so when I let go, it moved that last clip that I had, and then moved everything else down the timeline.
What is it on poor people's computers?
It would be, it's Option Command, so then it would be Option. Let me see your keyboard.
That's what I was about to ask, what's on a PC.
It'd be the Windows, possibly Windows and Alt. Try that. See what that does.
Windows.
The Windows key.
Control Alt, maybe?
Yeah.
Because command a lot of times correlates to control.
It would be Alt and
The window key just opens up your start menu.
right.
I think maybe control and alt.
It might be.
Because a lot of times I know command correlates to control.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's Control and Alt.
So Control and Alt
Yeah.
for Windows computers.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Drag it over and then hit both of those buttons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The other quick thing that you can do, the other thing that I can show you, what I want to show you is adjusting points, endpoints, or just adjusting the duration of clips in your timeline. So let's say we like this clip of some people on the quad, but we want it to be just a bit longer. You'll notice that we have this little red arrow at the beginning or the end of the clip, and you can just grab that and drag that out to however long you want. The other thing to notice about that is that it'll only drag as far as you have media. And so you'll notice that it drags, but it'll only drag as far as the media goes. So it won't go any further than that. And then you can go ahead and move that back down to where you want that. Any questions on that? Go ahead, Jason.
Do you want us just to cut from one thing to another, or does it have to like transition, like fade into
Whatever is
fade to
appropriate.
each other or whatever?
Whatever you think is appropriate there. So it can be cuts, it can be fades, it can just be whatever you want. I haven't shown you guys how to do any dissolves or anything like that yet. So if you want to figure that out, you're more than welcome to. But for this assignment, it's essentially cuts. It's just you putting a bunch of clips together and having it make sense in a story there. So yeah.
What's this yellow thing called again?
Yellow thing where? The playhead?
The play thing.
Yep. The yellow thing with the red line?
Yeah.
That would be the playhead. Okay. Let's say you want to get rid of some clips on your timeline. Easiest way is to select a clip and press delete. But at the same time, when you delete that clip, it leaves a gap there. And so if you want to delete a clip off your timeline, you select it and press Option Delete, and that is what you call a ripple delete. And it'll basically is what that did. It got rid of that clip here, this guy, and then brought these two clips and snapped it to this little guy here. And so I'll just go ahead and Option Delete that again, and then you have a ripple delete. And that's a very effective tool, and it works.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice because then you don't have to. Because if you did, let's just hypothetically, we'll just delete that, and let's see what you'd have to do there again. You have to select whatever you had and drag it down. Now with 2 clips, it's not so bad, but let's say you have 30 clips. That can be
You're dragging off the.
yeah,
You can't see them all immediately.
exactly.
So Option is the Alt key.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
So
not-
Alt for Windows, Option for
Control's
Mac.
command, alt is option.
Yep. But let's say you just did delete that. There's another quick way that you can do that. You can select the space in between there, and you can press Option Delete again. Or there's also another way to do that. You can select the space, right-click, and ripple delete shows up. And it's right there. Like I say, it's a lot of different ways to drive Adobe Premiere Pro.
If you want the efficiency, the shortcut keys are always
Yeah, that is the key thing. If you want to know, and the nice thing about Adobe Premiere is that for the most part, all their shortcut keys are here. And so you'll notice that we have overwrite edit. It's just the shortcut for that is period. And so it usually keeps that there for you. It tells you what shortcut keys are there. And then, like it says with all the tools there as well. The quicker you can scroll through your tools on a keyboard, the quicker you're going to be able to cut and edit. So pay attention to those and get to know those a little better.
Those are just the key. You don't have to hold anything else, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
says V there.
that's right. So it's V for the selection tool, A for a track select tool, ripple edit tool is B, And so, but we'll go through these in a different, we'll go through all the effects of these tools on a different lecture a day. Now, let's say you want to bring a clip in, but you don't want to overwrite and you don't want to delete any of the clips that we have here. And so is what we call that is an insert edit. The key thing with an insert edit, you can insert a clip anywhere, but usually you want to do that insert in between two clips. If you put it on the same clip, it's going to cut that clip in half and spread it apart. And so I'll show you basically what that means right here. So let's go ahead and get some other clips in here. We'll find this guy here. We'll put that up there. We've already got an in and out set for that. And so if you want to insert a clip, you can, I'll take you through every single way to do this. You can go to the little insert button at the bottom of your source monitor and click that. And you notice how that split the clip and put it right in there. That's an effective tool. And you'll notice that when I brought that down, this is stuff that I shot with my iPhone.
So it's just a single, it's not stereo.
Yeah, for some reason it's a single clip and it doesn't come in. Even though I have it set up to even though it's a mono, it should come in on 2 tracks. For some reason it doesn't, so which is fine. And so I'll show you again when I bring this in. I'll drag it over to the program monitor. You'll notice it says drop to overwrite or use command to insert. So I'll just press command and let go. And you notice it brings it in there. But you'll notice that little red line there. That just means that it's not the same. It's not the same media as your timeline, as I have with these other ones here. There's no line there, and so it's just going to take some time to render that out as you export it to whatever you export it to. Does that make sense? Yeah, it'll fix it. It'll basically render and export to the proper format.
And so on the insert, does it go where the playhead is and if you have an in marked again?
It'll only go where the playhead is.
That only goes with the playhead.
Well, let's find out. Let's mark an in here. Let's mark an in, and let's drag this, and let's just press. I think it's comma is to do an insert edit. So yeah, it'll do the same thing. So wherever you have it marked in, it'll come down on. And so I'll just drag that over here, and I'll press command again. But I need to move the playhead to just double check that. So I'll move this playhead off, and then command to insert. And so yeah, wherever you have an in point, it'll bring the insert as well. But the quickest way to do that is just press comma, and that'll bring an insert down. Period is the overwrite.
Is there a way to get your playhead like directly between 2 clips?
I don't know. I don't know if it's directly between. You can pretty much guess.
So you just need to be accurate.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much dead center. It just depends on where you want it. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and clear this in and out. And so let's say I did insert on the playhead there. I'll show you what this does here. See how it split that clip in half. So we have that truck there and the truck there. And then we have our windshield freezing ice there. So you have to be careful with that in case if you want to do that, it's an easy way to do it, but it's going to take some, it doesn't flow very well in the edit here. So you'll see that we have this, and then we cut to that. And it might work, I don't know. And then it drives back off right where we picked up. So it's just watch out for those. What do you have, Bradley?
So now so insert will put it right there. What does overwrite do in this situation?
So if I do an overwrite edit, and if I press period on that, it's going to overwrite. See how it overwrites?
Oh, okay. So it
all
replaces the time.
It overwrites, and I'll actually show you. I'll give you a nice large